Hello, 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 and welcome to episode 50 of Ask the Angels, where we answer your rent to rent questions live. And we have a specialist here today. Laura Davison is joining me to answer one of your questions. Laura is an interiors magician, and you are going to be so impressed, like I was, about what Laura can do and how it can help you in your rent to rent or your other property businesses. So just want to read out, first of all, Davina's question, and then I'm going to talk to you more about Laura. So Davina has asked me, and this is something that I'm asked regularly: how do I make a rent-to-rent HMO look good on a budget? I have no idea when it comes to design, and I don't know where to start. I think so many of us feel like that. How can we make a place look warm, homely, comfortable, all on a budget? And as I say, today I'm joined by Laura Davison. She's going to talk to us about how to stage your property on a budget in tight timescales. The other bit that you might not have ever heard about is virtual dressing. That's how we're going to come on to it. Virtual dressing, which can help you in rent to rent, or it can help you in buy to let, or it can help you if you're a developer. It can help you to get better prices for your properties and make them more profitable. So, welcome to the show, Laura Davison.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Laura, you've helped us with the virtual dressing, so I can't wait to get onto that part of the show. I was bowled over when I saw what you could do. Um, but first of all, let's kick off with actually give us a little bit of background, because you just gave me a little bit of background about how you yourself got into property in the first place.
Yeah, of course. So you can actually find me in Print HQ most of the time. So I do work full time. Me and my brother have got a print company. Um, and I sort of started looking into property just as a bit of a security thing, because I've got one business, and if anything ever happened to that, I always wanted a bit of a backup. And property always just seemed like a good asset to have, and it was cash flowing. So it seemed a good thing to sort of start slowly building up in the background. So I started doing that a couple of years ago, and it was my first project. I did a HMO, and I got heavily involved in the design aspect of that, and I just absolutely loved it. Really enjoyed pulling all the design together, and it wasn't anything I'd ever done before, so it unleashed a bit of creativity and passion in me that I didn't realise I had. And then COVID hit, well, probably about a year afterwards, and I decided to use that time to sort of try and do an interior design diploma. So trying to build on what I'd started to learn in property. And along the way, I learned about staging and, more importantly, virtual staging, which is sort of what I then have been focusing on for the last sort of year and a half.
Yeah, and you mentioned your print business with your brother, which is called Your Image to Canvas. And I thought that was so interesting as well. So do tell us about that, because I know I'm definitely going to check that out afterwards.
Yeah, so basically we've been around for about 15 years now. We start with our hero product, which is just canvas prints. So we basically make custom canvases. So it could be pictures of families, holidays, weddings, artwork, and we work with a lot of illustrators and artists that are just wanting to print and sell their artwork. And yeah, we've sort of more recently gone into picture framing and gifting products such as star maps and collage prints. But yeah, luckily for me, I can use that for staging my own properties. So you can usually see me use the large format printers just to print out tens of 20s of images just to stage and dress my own properties with, which is definitely handy.
Yeah. Is it price wise? Is it something that might be in budget for sort of an HMO refurb, or is it more for the one offs?
It depends what your budget is, to be honest, because what I tend to do is pair it with free stock websites. I don't know if you've heard of like Pixabay and Pexels. You can get free images off there, and then you can just use like a printing company like we do for the actual printing. So you could save on the artwork and then pay more for the printing. We are more of a quality print compared to like the My Pictures and photo boxes out there. They use a lot of sort of plastic and cheap materials. So we are a quality finish, but we are still very reasonably priced, to be honest. And we do usually have offers on for like 3 for 2, so the more you buy, the better discounts you get as well.
Yeah, okay. Well, would be worth looking into both for personal, because that's great for family gifts and so on, isn't it? And
Oh,
actually
absolutely.
making use of all those photos that we take. So great to hear about that. Now let's go back to this question of Davina's rather. How can I make my rent to rent HMO look good on a budget? I have no idea about design and don't know where to start. What advice would you give, Laura?
To be honest, there are loads of things you can do these days to try and keep on budget. I think accessories are like such a big point to look at. You know, you've got your Rangers, IKEAs, Dunelm Mill, H&M Home. You know, these are great places to start with just to accessorize. If you've got, I don't know, you compare it with sort of leasing furniture as well, longer term. So if you're getting some decent neutral coloured furniture, you can very easily then add on your accessories onto it, very budget friendly, and they can change the appearance of the room so much. You can add colours, textures, and it's so easy just to, you know, put these pieces into a room. And you know, if you've got neutral furniture, take everything to the next level with just some simple accessories. And then like the artwork, like I mentioned before, there's so many free stock sites that you can do, and if you're handy with like Photoshop, you can even add word art relatively easy and something that you can keep reusing for multiple projects. So then you can start putting branding into your projects as well. So if you've got a similar theme, like pulling in from place to place, you're then not having to recreate something every time. You can just start, you know, the cookie cutter approach of certain accessories and artworks that you could then just use multiple times over. And it's just trying to get it together that one time to start off with. And things like your plants as well, because I think that adds an extra dimension. If you go into like IKEA, for example, they have lots of artificial plants that are just so cheap, but they add like vibrancy into a room with lots of green and promotes that well-being of having sort of fresh looking plants around as well. So there are some good starting points to start off, I'd say.
I love that. So it's the importance of accessories. You mentioned the places where people can get them. So there's accessories, artwork, and plants is a great place to start. And you mentioned that Range, Dunelm, IKEA, H&M Home are all good. And you mentioned furniture leasing as a way of keeping the costs down. Is that something you tried, Laura, in your own HMOs or no?
It is, yeah. So the first one I got, I did that because there was the cost of the actual refurbs, obviously, they're quite high. So for me, I did the leasing, and if I'm correct, it's tax deductible as well in the long run. So it then just makes the payments more manageable. So you just each month you have a certain amount to pay off, and then it just in that initial sort of getting into the project is a little bit more manageable. And then you can sort of focus on getting your staging done at the same time with your accessories just to take it to the next level.
And if you don't mind me asking, Laura, would you recommend your leasing company that you use?
Yes, to be fair, my leasing company absolutely fine. You're going to ask me who it was now, aren't you? And I can't remember who I used because it was like 3 years ago now.
Oh, right. Well, I'll follow up with you afterwards.
I can definitely click that one out, yeah.
Yeah. And so back to what we're talking about, you saying accessories, artwork, and plants. So there I am. I'm clueless. I'm standing in an HMO bedroom. It's
Yeah.
got the bed. It's got the chest of drawers. It's got a wardrobe. I can't think what else it would have. But what do I do? What accessories would you say are where, you know, the 20% that gives 80% of the wow factor?
Yeah. So I think you do need to think about who's going to be in that room, who's your target. I think that's quite important because then you're going to rule out certain things that might not be necessary for certain people. Like if you've got contractors in there, you're going to want it to be quite homely. It might be that you're in quite an edgy area where you want to make your room stand out with sort of more quirky items. So then you would look at more unique accessories to go with. But initially, obviously, the bed's obviously where you're going to spend quite a lot of the time. So you want crisp white sheets on there, some nice cushions to go on it. Lighting is really important as well. So things like, is it iconic lights? I think I've used before. You want varying levels of lighting in that room, especially if you're, like, for example, women, if you're putting makeup on, you want to have some decent light. So having light, and then maybe by the bedside, you might want a softer light for maybe reading. It's sort of having those like layers of lights that you can sort of pair up in the room. So that's quite important and high up on the list. And then you're going to want to put some artwork onto the wall to make some features out of the wall, make the space a little bit more inviting. And then I'd go down to the accessories level, so little trinkets and stuff to put on the side, which is sort of bringing in some other colours into the room as well. And they're like the little finishing touches, I think, that can sort of pull the whole design in to get together.
Yeah, no, that sounds so great. I'm getting a bit of feedback at my side, so I hope that's not coming through for you. So you've got your bedding, you've got some bigger things, then you've got some smaller things. And I suppose when you really are doing it on a budget, you might only have two kinds of lighting. Like you might have the bedside lights and the ceiling light, or you might have the bedside lights, the ceiling light. You might have a floor lamp. We've had a floor lamp in some of ours as well. So, so you can adapt the advice to fit what you want to do. So, accessories, artwork, and plants. Is there anything else that you would add as the basics that people really need to be considering?
Mirrors are a good one as well. A good tall mirror is quite good, and that's also really good for if getting the lighting into the room as well. If the smaller rooms, having mirrors can reflect light around, make it look a little bit bigger. So mirrors are up there as well.
Yeah, totally. So now let's come on. Now we've got the basics of dressing your room on a budget. I'd love to come on to the virtual dressing. And I just want to say how I found you. I just found you on Instagram actually, and I think I must have seen some of your posts. And what you were doing was you were posting a photograph of an empty room, and then you were posting right next to it a photograph of the same room with furniture in it. And the rooms looked so much bigger with furniture in and so much better and more welcoming. It was just like night and day. It was almost as if that is not the same room. And then I found out that the furniture was not real furniture, it was virtual furniture. So, Laura, you take it up and tell us, what is virtual dressing?
Yeah, so yeah, it's absolutely brilliant. I absolutely love it. So virtual staging is basically when we take a photograph of an empty room and we digitally add furniture and accessories to give the appearance of a beautifully staged room, but there won't be actually any furniture in there. And it's really good for your online marketing. So, like you said, if you're going to sell it, or even if it's a buy to let that you want to rent out, when you're putting it onto places like Rightmove, and people are scrolling through, it's not very appealing to have an empty property on there. It doesn't really spark the imagination of the person that's wanting to potentially buy it or live there. So it can be a really powerful marketing tool to sort of, it's like your shop window ultimately. You're trying to entice people to look further into your advert and get the details and make a call and go and look at that property. So you have sort of standing out from the crowd by allowing them to imagine themselves living in that space is just so crucial. You've got a few seconds really to try and draw them in, and I think virtual staging really can take it to the next level.
Yes, it's so good in so many ways. So how we were using it was, I didn't even know it was a thing. So we had a flat that was empty and we were going to let it out empty. We were not going to furnish it, which is different to the HMO rooms, which normally we do furnish. So what we did was we took your photos and it did absolutely increase the number of clicks and inquiries we were getting on Rightmove, because we had it up there originally empty. It was still getting clicks, but when we did the digital dress photos, so much more. And it really helps the people who eventually moved in because they knew or they had ideas where to put their furniture. And because ours were quite small studio flats, it really gave them the idea of the space and how the space works and how to use their space. So, but just from a rent to rent perspective, you had mentioned that it could have some uses there, like on refurbishment. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so I've been doing some recently, which are HMO rooms, and that they've got the bare essentials there. So they might have the bed frames, the chest of drawers, things like that. And then we've gone in and sort of added the accessories. So, like you said, if you're doing it on a budget, it might be that you just don't want to go and spend another £100 per room to stage them for the photos. It could be that you come to me and we basically digitally add those accessories on for you, so you can get the polished look of a stage rooms for the marketing side. But you don't have to actually then go out and buy the product to stage them if they're especially just going to be put then in a cupboard until the room's empty again. So
It
it saves on
really
space.
it saves you. What did you say at the end there, Laura?
Save your space and time.
Yes, yeah, the space especially because those quilts, they're not easy, to store. So, so actually, yeah, you could even have a bare bed, couldn't you? Is that what you're talking about? You could have a bare bed and
Yeah,
put
so we
everything
can
on.
literally just put a quilt onto the bed and some pillows and throws onto the bed for you to give it so it stands out on the marketing, but you're not having to physically go and buy sheets and throws that you're just going to put in a cupboard for another year.
Yeah, so just to really break it down, because it took me a while to get my head around this, but it might be just me, is you can take your picture of your room with your bare mattress, your bare chest of drawers, your bare bedside tables, etc. And then Laura can add all the bedding, and all the other bits and pieces that you want to be added and make it look like a really cozy room ready for the marketing photos. And you may want to, well, I think you would want to add your pictures to the walls because those would be staying there permanently, and you would want to add your lighting and the things that you're planning to leave in the room. But the other parts where you're not planning to leave it in the room, such as bedding, plant, well, not necessarily plants, but trinkets and stuff, Laura can add.
Yeah,
So,
digitally as well. The other really interesting thing that we do as well is virtual renovation.
mm,
Um, so this is, I do have a lot of new build developers for this, but also people that are sort of midway through the renovations. So I know you do a lot of rent to rent, so may not be completely applicable, but for certain projects, it does lend itself really well to. So once you've got a kitchen and a bathroom in, and say if you've just got walls that are just plastered, there's no flooring down, we can step in and digitally add flooring and paint and all the other finishes and then stage it on top. So that really helps, like if you're wanting to pre-market the property. So if it's, I don't know, for example, say it's a HMO that you just renovated and you're waiting for September to come around to get sort of students in, it could be that you need to start marketing well ahead of time to get people in for September. So always being able to sort of finish a project early digitally will allow you to sort of show the students what their expectations are of that to try and get the rooms let before the refurb's even finished as well. So there's so many opportunities with it.
I love that, and I did not. I actually I did know because I've seen it on your Instagram, where you've got the just freshly plastered walls, and you've either painted them, or have I seen in some places that you've wallpapered them?
It's just been paint that I've done so far.
Yeah, yeah. But you've decorated them digitally. You've put the flooring down, you've put the furniture in, you've put everything in so people can absolutely imagine themselves. And it's all digital. And when you look at the digital picture, you cannot tell that it's digital. Unless somebody told you, you honestly would not know. And it's also good for lenders, refinancing, anybody, all the people who do not have a good imagination, are quite risk averse. It's great for them to see this is where we're going with this project. So there's so many. Is there anything you want to add, Laura, about other
Uh,
other cases
Sorry,
that
just going on to what you were saying then about it being good for people to sort of view. And what I find as well is people really like it for one, their social media, and for private funding private funding packs, sorry,
Mm.
is really good as well. Rather than just again having these empty rooms, is showing people what you're about, like what your values are as a company and what you're trying to portray with the properties that you're doing. And I think those things are really lend themselves well to be put in them packs, especially if you're working with private funders, to show the sort of level of quality of work that you're wanting to do. Rather than having just an empty picture, it really shows what you can do, and people are sort of, rather than it just being for online marketing, they're seeing the benefit of showing people on social media and in the packs what they can do.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So now I know that people can get hold of you and they can see some before and afters and lots more information about the virtual dressing at lauradavisonproperty.co.uk. And if you're listening on the podcast, and you can get the details on the website renttorentsuccess.com/ATA50. ATA50, that stands for Ask the Angels 50, Ask the Angels 50. So Laura, that here you'll see the video of the lovely Laura, and also we have on screen Laura Davison property.co.uk, and it's Davison, just to make that distinction.
Brilliant.
So Laura, is there anything that you would have loved to have shared with people, that people need to know about virtual dressing, that I haven't asked you about yet today?
I think the most common thing is how expensive is it? I
Yes.
think because it's actually very cost effective to do. I start off at £40 per picture if you order one to four, and then over that it goes down to £35 a picture. And if you're ordering 10 on, it goes down to £32 per picture. So it's really cost effective. The virtual renovation, I just price based on what's needed because it depends on completely what you need to do. But obviously, there's the website there, and obviously, you can find me on Instagram as well. So if you have got any other questions or just want to know how it works, you've got a particular project you want to have a chat with me about, you can speak to me on Instagram. And I've also got a diary in my Instagram page, so you can book a call in with me directly, and then we can have a chat about your particular needs as well. So more than happy to have a chat with you about any of it.
Great. But do only book the chat if you do have projects which you are looking to stage, just to say that. Because some people might think, oh, Laura's so lovely, I want to have a chat with her. And they're not actually got a project to stage. So if you have got a project to stage, book a chat. And just to let you know as well, you just need to provide pictures. I mean, all this is on the website, pictures of the property empty. So for us, we got our photographer to take the pictures, the empty pictures. But you can just, I suppose, work from iPhone snapshots. Could you, Laura? Or
you can, yeah. To be honest, these days iPhone cameras are just as good. Ideally work with the agent's cameras because they're using a bigger format and have really good lighting to them. But we've done many with iPhone cameras and they're absolutely fine. So I always sense check it anyway. Sometimes when they get passed along through WhatsApp and stuff, they get shrunk in size. So we would pick up on that. But if there's any issues, I'll just flag it straight away anyway.
perfect. Well, I really am so pleased, so delighted that you've been able to join us. I was hoping for this ever since we worked with you, which I want to say is years ago, but I'm not sure when the first time was.
Probably about 12 months ago now.
Yeah. And so I'm glad that the stars have aligned and you've been able to come on the podcast today, because so many people need to hear about this, and there aren't that many people doing it. In fact, I don't know of anybody else, because I was telling you earlier that I was actually trying to get this done for another development that we have, which is 4 flats, all self-contained, and it was going to cost us several £100s for each photograph. I think that was a different technology, though, to what you're using, but it didn't suit our purposes. It's great for developers, but that didn't suit our purposes. But now, with what you're offering, is very affordable and is really accessible for us, for what we do. So I do encourage you to check Laura out, either at lauradavisonproperty.co.uk, or you can go to Laura Davis at Laura Davison Property on Instagram, and you'll be able to see some of the magic right there. Okay, Laura. Well, it's been amazing having you on, Laura. I don't know, is there anything you'd like to say? Just any advice for people dressing who are doing it themselves?
Yeah, I think really just try and think of who's going to be in that space and what they're going to want to get. I think that's a really good starting point, and then things will start piecing in together about what they're going to need in that particular room. But be creative and just be a bit bolder with it as well. Like, don't be too cautious. I think just give it a go, especially if it's like things like accessories and they're not too expensive. You can't go too far wrong with that side of things. So I think just have a go at it and just be creative.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, Laura. And if you're in the Kickstarter program with us, we have the whole section M6.2. It's all about make your HMOs heavenly, guide to refurbishment, guide to dressing, exactly what to buy, what to leave there, and what to be able to take away. So we go through that. Those templates are so valuable. And in summary, yes, you can dress rooms inexpensively on a budget, but what you've heard here today also is that in some circumstances, digital dressing will really help you. And for those occasions, do check out lauradavison.co.uk. So that's all for this episode of Ask the Angels. If you would like us to answer your questions another time, go to renttorentsuccess.com/ask. So thank you, Laura, for being here with me today.
Oh no, thank you so much for having me. It's been really good to finally get on and have a chat with you.
Yes, and thank you for watching and for listening. See you soon. Bye for now.